This is Jarrod Horak, and in this video I will discuss how to use pace and final time ratings in combination. And I will use today's Racing Digest past performances for my examples, and all past performances in this video are provided by todaysracingdigest.com. Now it's time to talk about pace and final time ratings and how we should best use them in our handicapping. Now the first thing I like to do is figure out the race shape, and that will help me decide which running styles have the advantage. Now the three most common race shapes you're going to come across. The first one, fast early and slow late, and that typically favors closers. Those same closers usually underperform in subsequent starts when the race shape is not as flattering. The second most common race shape, average early and fast late. So when you see an average pace and then a fast finish, edge to front runners and pressers under those circumstances. Finally, slow early and fast late, usually advantageous for forwardly placed runners, but as a general rule, downgrade front runners winning under those circumstances and upgrade late runners closing into tepid fractions. After I do that, I go through the past performances, I look at pace and final time ratings, and see if I can figure out how a horse won or lost based on the numbers. After that, I look at the track profile to see which running styles are preferred at today's course and distance. I also check to see if any previous track biases helped or hurt runners. And I keep track of daily biases at Del Mar and Santa Anita, the two racetracks that I cover each day. I write handicapping reports for those tracks each day, covering track bias information on the main track and the turf course. And if you are using today's Racing Digest for your past performances, they list the track bias for each race that each horse exits. And I have that information highlighted on the screen now. I will go into more detail on that in upcoming digest videos. I do these digest how to use the digest video series videos, and I'll cover more stuff as we keep going. But now back to the subject at hand. I will use the Saratoga Oaks as my first example. And I covered this race on my channel as a handicapping video. First thing when I'm looking at the past performances, I look at the whole body of work first, and then I try to pick out a past performance line most representative of today's racing conditions. So what I'm looking for is I'm trying to project which kind of pace rating the horses are going to run in today's race based on today's conditions, and then see where the horses will be in the early going. Now for the pace of the Saratoga Oaks, Opulent Restraint, in his last two pace ratings, he had a 164 and then a 143. And then the other horse that had speed was Totally Justified at a 152 and a 162. So you can see Opulent Restraint and Totally Justified pretty evenly matched up on the front end. And then you had Laurelin with a 125, figured to be stalking the pace. And then I was looking at the final time ratings, and we had some horses in this race that were earning improved final time ratings. That's what you want to see too. You want to see those improving patterns. Nice, steady, slow improvement. You don't want to see a horse run an 80 final time rating and then earn like a 110. You want to see some steady, slow progress. That is definitely preferred. So for Opulent Restraint, last four starts, 116, then a 117, a 125, and then jumped up to a 138. But that one did lose her last three starts heading into this event. Evershed had run three lifetime starts with an 87 in a turf sprint, followed by a 104 and a 110 in back-to-back wins in turf routes. And then Laurelin was undefeated, won all four of her starts, getting a 114 final time rating, then a 123, a 126, and a 132. So looking at the pace and final time ratings together, Opulent Restraint and Totally Justified figured to go early, and I projected that they were going to run a 164 and a 162 pace rating for those two, which put those two close together in the early going. And then Laurelin figured to stalk those two in third with that 125 pace rating. And looking at the past performances, Laurelin had defeated Opulent Restraint on April 27th at 1 mile. This race was 1 mile and 3/16. Now the race shape and added distance of the Saratoga Oaks did seem to favor Laurelin, and she was my top choice, and Evershed was my live long shot. Opulent Restraint ended up going off the favorite, even though Laurelin was the morning line favorite. Opulent Restraint was the post time favorite, and based on that pace, it played out like it looked on paper. Actually, Totally Justified was able to get to the front. Opulent Restraint was chasing in second, and Laurelin was stalking out in the clear in third from the outside post. and she was able to pounce in the lane under Kendrick Carmouche, and she won by a bit less than 2 lengths. And Evershed did come running to finish second at 14-1. Opulent Restraint finished third. So I ended up cashing the 2-1 win bet on Laurelin, and I thought that was a fair price. She probably should have been the favorite. She was undefeated, and she had also defeated Opulent Restraint before. And so she paid off at 2-1 for the win. And then I had the trifecta as well. That paid $179 for $2. Now, my next 3 examples are races run at Del Mar on Saturday, August 9th. And we'll start with the third race, a maiden special weight event, 5 furlongs on the turf course. And looking at the turf course profile for 5 furlong races at Del Mar, front runners win 52% of the time, pressers win 26% of the time. So 78% of the turf sprints, 5 furlongs at Del Mar, won by horses showing early pressing speed. Now the favorite here was Godavri, and the second best numbers, Fancy Facts. And now we're going to look at those two head to head. And for those runners, Godavri, for that one, was improving the numbers, had a 90 final time rating in the debut, and then a 105 and a 116. Pace ratings were going up as well, 71, 116, and a 126. So that one was solid. She was the favorite. She was my top choice in here. I also liked Fancy Facts in here as well. Had only run once with a 101 final time rating, a 125 pace rating. So this one still had upside and not bad numbers either in that career debut. And Fancy Facts was able to get out there and set the pace and defeat Godavri. Those two finished first and second in this event. So as you can see, based on the pace and final time ratings, they were the 2 horses looking at the course profile as well, and they were able to run first and second. Fancy Facts, as the second betting choice, ended up winning. And now we'll look at race 4, the Best Pal Stakes at Del Mar, 6 furlongs. Now the 6 furlong profile, 35% of the races at 6 furlongs at Del Mar won by front runners, 53% won by pressers. So that's a strong speed bias there. 88% of the races at 6 furlongs at Del Mar won by horses with early pressing speed. Now, Desert Gate was the big favorite from the outside post and definitely stood out as the favorite. And then I also liked Brigante and Pavlovian underneath that one. Not a lot of money to be made in this race, but we're just using this exercise to look at the numbers and see what the numbers say. And you can get an idea in future races what to look for in these races. Now for Desert Gate in the career debut, won that one nicely, 6 furlongs at Santa Anita, getting a 131 final time rating with a 123 pace rating. Strong contender in here. Nobody was able to stand up to those numbers. Now Brigante from the inside post was still a maiden after finishing second in the debut, and this one got a 126 final time rating in the debut with a 107 pace rating. And then the other horse with the numbers that I thought could improve was Pavlovian. And I talked about slow progress, and that's what this one did, getting a 96 final time rating in the debut and then a 98 second time out. So then I thought third career start after finishing second in the debut at 4.5 furlongs, followed by a victory at 5 furlongs, and then stretching to 6. This one did figure to run a better race. And look at the late pace ratings as well. A 26-2 for that 4.5 furlong, and then went to a 25 seconds flat for that 5 furlong event. So this one just seemed to be improving, and getting that extra furlong might be able to hit the board. Desert Gate was able to win. Pavlovian was second. Brigante ended up finishing third here. So all the numbers pointed to those 3 horses, especially the winner, Desert Gate, and that one was able to get the job done. And then finally, we're going to look at one more race, race 6. It was an optional claiming race on the main track at 1 mile. Now the 1 mile profile at Del Mar, 41% front runners with 29% pressers. So that's 70% of the races at Del Mar at 1 mile won by horses showing early pressing speed. So it's important to know how the track plays at a certain distance, and then you can start looking at the pace and final time ratings and trying to figure out where the horses are going to be in the early going using the pace ratings, and see if there's any advantages there, and then see if the horses that have the early speed have a decent enough competitive final time ratings as well to be contenders. So in this race, Privman was the favorite and my top choice. and then Lyell's Song was the second choice, and they stood out on pace and final time ratings. So they were my top two in here, and then we will look at those runners in this race, and we'll look at those side by side. And looking at Lyell's Song, now Lyell's Song had a nice pattern here, getting a 122 final time rating in his first start off of a long layoff. Now he was laid off from June of 2024 to May of this year, and he ran okay, he finished fourth, and he got a 122 final time rating, and then he jumped up in his second start after a layoff, and that was at Del Mar at 1 mile in this same optional claiming level. So running at the course and distance, finishing a close second on July 19th at Del Mar, he got a 138 final time rating with a 137 pace rating. So he figured from that inside post to be forwardly placed. He was a solid contender in here. But I did give the edge to Privman because I liked how he improved when they stretched him out in distance again at Del Mar at 1 mile in a maiden special weight event on July 20th. And his numbers were going the right way. He went from a 108 to a 114 and then back-to-back 132s. Now, when horses pair up final time ratings like that, they'll move forward sometimes in their next start. So they have those back-to-back numbers where they just duplicate those numbers. And his pace ratings were going up as well, from a 90 to a 137 to a 143 to a 153. So I like that improving pattern. And Privman was able to win this race in a hard-fought photo over Lyell's Song. So that was a good effort from both horses. Again, not huge prices on these horses, but we're using these races as an exercise to show what to look for when you're handicapping horse races and you're trying to figure out the final outcome. And a lot of this stuff that we're using, pace, final time ratings, and all of this stuff is definitely going to help you become a better handicapper in the long run. And that will do it for my look at today's Racing Digest pace and final time ratings in combination. Now to recap, try to figure out today's race shape and look at past race shapes. Check out the track profile, search for any track biases, and look at the pace and final time ratings to sort out your contenders. Now today's Racing Digest has been providing past performance data to handicappers since 1970. They are Southern California experts, and they've expanded out and they cover more tracks from around the country now. And one of their most popular products is the Complete Digest. And the Complete Digest includes analysis, fast figs, fire numbers, pace and final time ratings, speed and pace forecasts, class ratings, and much more. I'm going to be doing more how to use the digest videos on my channel in the coming days, weeks, and months. So keep looking for those, and go to todaysracingdigest.com for more information on their handicapping products. And like, comment, and share these videos if you like them. Subscribe to my channel as well. It's free to subscribe. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.